So you guys, she will even go as far as to like secretly watch you while you're on your date. Oh, she'll have cue cards to tell you what to say. She might even give you a makeover before you go on this date so you look your cutest. So that she highlights their best attributes. So,
white people. I tell you, white
she's
people.
Not white. She's not white. She's not white. What is she? She's mixed. She's mixed.
She's a
Or she's white.
That's white. That's white.
Hold on. Before we do this, wait.
Stop. This is a friend of mine. She's mad cool. She's actually on my
I didn't say that she was a bad person.
She's not white.
Let me check you right there.
No,
I didn't say she was a bad
Mommy,
person.
she's not white.
I said that
You just said that she was white.
She ain't all the way black, is she?
Since when did the percentage make you?
She's biracial.
I
Which means she's part white, and I believe that's part of her whiteness coming out because black people ain't going on no dang tell us something. Here, hold this.
She has a really big following. That's actually
great.
how I found her on Instagram.
You guys, that's great. Ain't nobody saying that. What I'm saying is, this girl right here is biracial.
Yeah.
Okay? She's part black and she's part white. Okay? There are some aspects that I know are her white aspects. There are some aspects that are her black aspects. And I have a right to say, I feel like this person is the white aspect is coming out when you taking them on a date, holding a car and telling them, say this.
I think she's just helping them out, Lonnie.
Don't at me.
I think she's just helping them out because she truly cares about her clients.
So Shan is really, really educated and passionate about the topic of intimacy. On her Instagram, she actually gives people bite-sized tips on how to really get to know your femininity or your personality so that you don't have to just use your words in order to communicate what you want. You don't have to just use your body, that you actually use all of what God gave you to really get what you want and to really own who you are. She's an empowering woman. She's a feminist, and she's really, really, really good at what she teaches. So if you need to just understand all the giftings you have to be able to get what you want in life and be direct about it, she's the girl for you.
I think if you have someone following you around, telling you what to do on a date, maybe you need to reassess yourself and relax, get to know yourself, and then go out on a date on your own. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I can't even read cue cards when it's a script. So I have failed already, Shannon.
Wait, are you on the dating scene? And if so,
Oh my God.
would you ever sign up for something like this or get tips from someone like this?
No, because I'm scared. I'm scared of everything right now.
She would help you though,
That's
right?
honest.
I might have to call Shannon. I know
Yeah,
Shannon.
she would help you. Wouldn't
Yes,
she?
Shannon.
You can't even read a cue card, so
I can't. No, but honestly,
I think
if
she
I had to...
change it for the person. Like if you can't read cue cards,
I'm not choosing
she's not gonna have the cue cards for you. But I think it also is about her getting to know who you are and what are the things you like about yourself and letting those things shine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but for me,
Not necessarily reworking the human being. Like Tam, if I know there's something that you love to talk about, psychology, that's what you went to school about. But people get
how much
frozen.
does she charge for this?
I don't know actually.
How much she charge?
I don't know.
Okay, y'all her friends.
Well, she
Y'all
does it
don't know
for
how
free
much.
on her Instagram, so I would encourage you to check it out.
What? No, we're gonna take a break. Somebody tell Lonnie how much this costs.
Hi there, lovers and friends. So yeah, we're going to talk about what happened on The Real yesterday. Now, it wasn't actually until this morning that I watched the clip. Yesterday, when I made this clip on my Instagram.
If I start thinking and becoming negative, if I start putting messages out there that are hurtful to others, that is the only way that what I have and the work that I've been, the 13 years I've been in this space, that's the only way that this can get torn down by somebody. And you know what? That has been tested so much this year. I don't know why. I'm not crying because of this one situation. I think it's just like I'm exhausted.
I had actually not even seen what they said about me at all. And in full disclosure, I know a producer on The Real who actually gave me a heads up a few days prior that said, you're going to be talked about on Friday's episode. And the way that it was worded already let me know that it wasn't going to be in like the most shiniest of context. So I wasn't completely blindsided, but admittedly, you still have a hope that it's not going to be what it was. And when I woke up Friday morning, because I guess The Real airs very, very early. I only watch it on YouTube. I watch it on the internet. So I didn't realize by the time that I got up at 9, I would have already gotten so many DMs of the clips, so many ads. Like it was just so overwhelming to wake up and be like, this person said some awful things about you and you should know. And so my reaction there was in reaction to just, wow, that really sucks. And here's why it sucks. The Real is like the Oprah to my generation, or to me in particular, I will say that. I have followed that show for such a long time. I love what it stands for. I love the space that it occupies. So much to the point that I have been pitching myself to go on The Real for like 5 years, consistently sending producers storylines or things I think I can contribute on, while watching it and being very aware of topics that they do like, but also saying that like I really want to be a part of this magic. I do a lot of press, and that's just one of those dream benchmark places for me. I've even had in comment sections before people will say to me like, you should be on The Real, and I'm all like magically maybe one day. And leading up to this clip airing, I got to go on Jeannie Mai's podcast, whom I have, of course, followed since the beginning of The Real and just have so much admiration for her. She's also Shameless Maya's good friend. I've only heard amazing things. And I had such an incredible time on her podcast. Like, she truly is an intimacy expert in so many ways and was so on the ball and so good at her job. And I love being around people who are amazing at what they do. And I think that not only is she amazing at what she does, oh my goodness, in terms of being a great speaker, but also amazing at what she does in terms of being like really intuitively aware of relationships. And I love being around people like that. So that was check one. And then Adrienne Bailon, whom Cheetah Girls, 3LW, like, again, such a very big part of my upbringing and of somebody I've always aspired to and looked up to. I think that me and Adrienne are probably the same age, so I don't want to say look up in a sense of that, but just looked up at, wow, it's possible for somebody who looks similar to me. So she started following me on Instagram. When these things started happening with the Genies and with Adrienne, I was like, wow, like there's this dream that I had that could actually come to fruition. And on top of all things, they had Tisha Campbell on the show as a guest host. And Tisha, I educated the young women in her life that she refers to as her daughters. I have spoken to them about sex. They had a TV show pitch. That's actually why I know Jordan Woods years and years ago. That was just a bunch of young women talking about issues that are important to them, and I came in as their sex educator. As a result, I spent a 4th of July at Tisha Campbell Martin's house, and that was when I first came to the city. And you guys know how difficult my early days in LA were, and that was like, wow, it is possible. And being at Tisha's house and seeing the incredible work that Black Hollywood has done and how much they love and embrace each other, and just getting the opportunity to get a peek into that world was such magic to me. And women who are really close to Tisha, I consider to be like my American moms. And so Tisha's very special to me as well too. So that's kind of what I think added the extra insult to injury, to know that I was insulted on this platform that I really revere and admire so much, amongst women that I really admire so much, with a guest host that has a really special place in my heart. So I think all those things combined were why I had that emotional reaction to it the way that I did, because when you dream of being a part of something, you just never want your experience to be like that. Even though I wasn't there, my face was on screen, my work was discussed, and of all the times that I have envisioned that opportunity and that moment, it never looked like that. So that was just disappointing. So here's what happened. Here's the thing in general. I have to truly acknowledge the space that I exist in as an educator, and I made this comparison yesterday, wherein like I am the crocodile hunter of intimacy in relationships. And that is to say, the crocodile hunter, who's Steve Irwin, I think his name is, but Steve is a conservationalist. His family owned a conservation site. He grew up around animals his entire life. He studied endangered species. Like, he truly is one of the thought leaders in that space. But Steve's true gift was to bring the average person who's never thought about wildlife and has never thought about climate change and the impact that it has on our animal friends, to get that person into the field. And so he did extreme things. So you either know Steve as the guy who has donated millions and millions of dollars to Australia wildlife preservation, or you know him as the nut job guy who's tackling crocodiles in the water. And so that's the thing with me. You either know me for the fact that I've been this space for 13 years. You know me for the boards that I sit on, the work that I have put in, the people I've collaborated with, the message that I tote, which is everybody has a right to become their own relationship, intimacy, and sex expert. And my job is to inform people so that they can then start to learn more. I refer to myself as the Walmart greeter. I've never said that I'm a sex expert, or the relationship expert. My job is to make so many of you aware of the great information that's out there. And in order to do that, I look for splashy ways to tell that story, to convey that message. Like the crocodile hunter, he found ways to get the average person invested in a topic area that majority of us just don't really think of. And so through that, you might look at him as a hack, or you might look at him as a genius. And it's the same for me. Depending on who's in the room, they might look at me as a hack, or look at me as a genius, or majority of people not even know who I am at all. And I have to accept that that's the space that I'm taking. So for example, with The Game of Desire, this is a 300-page book wherein you don't even get to any of the techniques that are interesting until, let's say, over halfway through the book. So we start out probably on page 170. Yep, we're page 180, where then we get into all the things that you've heard about in the media, a la the vabbing, a la the thing that I did that talked about on the reel, where I go on a date with somebody and I have cue cards. Like, those are things that have come much later once we put in the foundational work. But if you see me on a media platform, they will try to pin it as if the entire book is about vaginal juices as a perfume, or is about me going on dates and manually instructing women what to do next. So on the reel, what they were bringing up is a part in the book which comes at page 246. And at this point, here's how it's prefaced going into it. Later that night, Courtney called me in a panic. Derek had said yes to a date, and River was set to come to LA. Now what? I smiled in recognition, knowing the lack of supply and too much demand yielded the same reaction from her. Courtney, I had come to lovingly learn, was simply someone who needed order and a healthy level of predictability. If she had a process, she would make progress. So I decided to try something unconventional to help her achieve that for her final assignment. I created a step-by-step plan based on everything we had learned thus far that she could use on her date with Derek. And then I went on the date with her and had the cue cards. And for those of you who know Courtney's stories, Courtney was the person who I described as, she had all the right ingredients to make spaghetti, but she was all sauce, not enough noodles, or too much time, not enough sugar. The ingredients were there, but the proportions were slightly off. So there's no way that I would suggest doing what I did with Courtney for every single person. But in this book in particular, I was working with 6 women and trying out of the box ways to get them to their intended goal. Also, it served a second purpose of being the prologue of the book, so that I wanted people to understand, hey, this is what you're going to learn. It was almost like a cheat sheet. And as you guys know, the book starts out pretty emotionally heavy, kind of slow. Some people who have read it have said it took them a long time to get through the first 3 chapters, because it is more about the inner work that you have to do. And the workbook, obviously, as you know, takes a long time to do. So the prologue was to be like, look, we're gonna get to this fun stuff eventually. Stick with me through this, stick with me through the not so glamorous, not so splashy, not so newsworthy side of self-work. Once we get through that, we're gonna get to the fun stuff. So anyhow, going back to this, on the reel, one of the hosts was just, I guess somebody had brought up, you know, here's this dating person. I don't know how they describe me, but here's this person who teaches people how to be better on dates for a living, and she goes through unusual things to help her clients. And the entire time that the host was explaining what I do, another host had this like look of disgust, like as if poo was on her upper lip. So clearly has not researched me, does not know me, maybe has never heard of me, or perhaps she has heard of me, but again, it's only been the news bites and she's formed an opinion, completely her right, but you know, hasn't looked into anything else about me. And then she says, that's her white side, or that's that white stuff. And everybody else in the panel chimes in and is like, she's not white. And then she's like, let me see her picture. Oh, she's biracial. She's not black for sure. I don't think I would have been hurt by this, like I said. Like I said yesterday, I didn't watch the clip before I responded. My response was just in the disappointment of having to absorb the fact that a moment that I've been dreaming about for so long was tainted by criticism and tainted by the usual BS. But once again, as I just prefaced, I have to also accept that that BS is a part of the ramifications of the approach that I have taken through my work. So that was what those tears were for. This is my honest reaction to that. That's so lame. And I say that in a loving way because I so admire what the people on The Real do. I can't imagine having to talk for an hour every single day, give your perspective, which is what you are paid to do, little information and time to prep, and you just have to be honest. Like, think about the things that we say in our group chat with our girlfriends and what comes up, and sometimes not the best parts or best perspectives rise to the top, and things are said in joking context. And if you know somebody, it's taken one way. If you don't, it's taken another. So I empathize with their work, and I don't look at everything through a microscope for that reason, nor do I think that we should do that, because again, if I joined any of your group chats and started reading through, I'm sure I'd also find some problematic stuff. But the gift in that is, and I say this about my work too, the gift in the accountability and the criticism, I'm always getting to check myself. For example, I was on the Lilly Singh show about 3 weeks ago. In February, when that video comes out, I am going to have to issue an apology video. I knew that the second I got off stage. I made some sweeping remarks about men in Toronto that is just not on brand for me, and it's so against what I actually fundamentally believe about the mindset you should have about people in general, that I knew I messed up, and I know I'm gonna have to come back and really explain and apologize to that, so stay tuned for that. So I think that this is an opportunity for this host to look at herself and be like, that was so lame of me. Why would whiteness be an insult? First of all, I'm not biracial. My parents are Caribbean and my mom is half black, half white, but her father, her white Irish father, abandoned her at birth. I never grew up with white people in my family or with white influence. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have that, but that's not my story. So I don't have a white side that pops up. And as an adult or as I got older, the white people who I have invited into my life, who I see as family, are incredible people. And I'm grateful for that. I got to choose my white family in many ways. And to use their race as an insult is saddening to me. Even in a joking context, that's saddening to me, and I don't agree or stand by that. And I also think too, like, to discredit I also I've done many videos about the mixed experience and my experience in the Black community because I am a lover and I am a cheerleader and I feel one with Black women and with Black people especially, but I also acknowledge that I don't have the Black experience. And so there's always going to be this kind of confusing back and forth of like, where do I fit in? How do I show my enthusiasm and the community I feel without overshadowing the experiences that actually represent the community? And that is something I'm not going to figure out in, a year or two, and it will take me quite some time. And it's a journey that I probably only actively started maybe 3 to 4 years ago. I think before that, I was so focused on my experience or my pain, or even comments like Lonnie's really would have made me feel a certain way blanketly before. Whereas now I'm like, that's one person's opinion, one old, outdated, kind of sad opinion that I don't think majority of people share or express. And I'm not going to use that to inform my opinion on my own Blackness or my own space in Blackness. But I'm aware that opinion exists out there. So that to say that, yeah, I'm not going to have it all figured out at this time, but using my race as an insult, because I don't ever tote to say that I speak for Black women, the Black women dating experience. And if I ever have done videos about Black women dating in particular, I have brought on a therapist who is an identifiable, non-negotiable Black woman who has had the Black experience in the dating space. And that's also a big part of my brand in general. I constantly lean on the expertise of others. I never try to stand up here and tell you that I am the monolith, like I am the go-to voice. Even when it comes to content, I lean on you guys for your experiences and your stories, because there's stuff that we can all learn from each other. So I don't know where that comment was even coming from, if she got the impression that I was touting myself as the Black dating doctor, or why that would come up. But those are questions you should really ask yourself. Those are honest questions you should probably take this as an opportunity to examine deeper into. And even if I was half black, half white, and that was my white side jumping out, why is that an insult or something negative to discredit or to tear down my right to have an opportunity to be amplified on that platform? That's it. We'll continue doing the work that we do, and I'm trying to learn the best as I can to manage all the various different opinions of me. It's been a really short amount of time. The book came out in July, and I've never received so much press attention in my life, and I'm a little exhausted from being seen. It is a little tiring, but I guess ultimately, as long as we continue to examine this together and get through it mindfully and also graciously and empathetically, only good can come out of it. So that's where we're at right now. That was that thing. I'm trying to think if there was any real point to this video other than to say, I'm going to re-amplify what I said in the previous video, in my Instagram video. A few days before the Real episode came out, somebody on my YouTube made a comment that said, you're no different than an actor or a stripper. You're not special. Your career is not great. Your man is blah, 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 blah. Like, you're not someone to look up to. It's just all this stuff. And I read it and I thought, even if you were the most influential person in my field, your singular opinion would not tank me. You're not the most influential person in my field. You probably have no influence anywhere, let alone, in my life. But even if you did, I'm at a space right now where my career is so diverse and so broad, and I continue to expand. Like, I'm not going anywhere. As many of you know, I'm enrolled in school right now for human development. Like, I am going to get my LMFT. Like, I am not going anywhere.
Same way that I encourage everybody to look for the love life and the sexual life that fits them best, you got to find the educators that fit you best. You have every right to not think somebody fits in line with what your values are.
That goes to Winnie Harlow. She has this beautiful quote in the book. If I can find it while I'm scrolling, it'd be amazing. So Winnie said, I'm like a train. I know where I'm going and I know what I have to do to get there. If people want to get on board, great. But if they don't, maybe they'll show up at future stops. So to the host on The Real, I'm a train. And if you want to get on board, great. If not, I'll see you at future stops. But the sticks and the rocks that you throw on my railroad aren't gonna do shit. It's really not gonna derail me. You might slow me down a bit. I might stutter step. It might be a bumpier ride for those of you who are on this journey with me and have to experience that pain with me, but we're not slowing down. We're not going anywhere. And knowing that just makes this so much easier. As long as I continue to have a good intent for what I'm doing, as long as my vision and my dedication is to the topic and not self-serving, nothing that comes out of me is going to destroy me. And that is the thing. Only I can destroy myself. Only my negativity, only my own inner nastiness, that is the only thing that can be used as a weapon against me to tear down what I've built. Everybody else is just a person with an opinion. No matter how many followers you have or how great your show is or how much influence you have, you're just another person with an opinion.